Hey guys, Andek back again with another video, and today we're going to be going through an actual artist management contract. I'm going to be explaining each of the terms and providing you a little bit more insight into what you potentially will be signing. So today we're using an artist management contract that I found online on a website called Smartest You, and it was in their free artist management toolkit. So shout out to them. Now we're going to dive straight into the contract and go through a bit of a summary of each of the terms. Please keep in mind, if you have received an artist management contract, please seek independent legal advice. It is crucial that you understand every term within your contract. I will be going over each term on a surface level, so do not by any means take this as legal advice. We're just going through the basics. So, jumping straight in. First and foremost, your artist management contract has to define who are the parties. So, the first line, manager, is stating the manager, whether it's an individual or a company. Then the second line is going to be stating the artist. Who is the artist? What is their full legal name and what is their stage name? For example, it could be Andrew and the stage name could be Andek. Now we move on to the term of the agreement. The term sets out the length of the contract. So how long are you locked into this contract for? So the term within this contract allows you to have an initial period and also options for automatic renewal. Essentially what this means is that you set an initial period of potentially a year, and let's say we set the automatic renewal period as a year. What that means is after the first year, the contract will automatically renew for an additional year and then continuously renew on a year-by-year basis, provided that neither party terminates the agreement. Now, we move on to the next section, the territory. The territory of this contract is outlined as the world. So a lot of people use different terms in here. It could be the universe, but the world, it all means the same thing. You are covered throughout the world for this contract. It is not set for a specific jurisdiction. The next section is the management rights and services. This section essentially gives the manager the exclusive right to represent the artist for entertainment industry related activities. Now they list a few of the activities including music, film, television, theatre, etc. But they do suggest that it's including and not limited to those areas. The reason it is throughout the entertainment industry and including but not limited to is because it would be impossible to list every single potential form of revenue through the entertainment industry because the landscape is ever changing. The next section is one of the most important sections in the artist management contract. It is the fee.
What's up, bro? How you been? Bro, you know how it is, securing the bag. What bag? There's no bag.
This section outlines what the artist is essentially paying the manager in return for the manager being the artist's manager. The manager is entitled to commission, and the commission is set into A and B categories. So A is gross revenue and a commission of 20%. And that is exclusive to only entertainment industry generated revenue. And then B is separated to capture merchandise sold by the artist, and that is a 20% net revenue. And the reason that merchandise is net revenue is because if it wasn't, the manager would be taking their 20% commission before all of the costs involved in producing merchandise were taken out. So now on to the next section, exclusion from gross revenues. This section is essentially just targeted at the above section, subsection B, which is in regards to the merchandise and net revenue. This section is just defining what net revenue means and basically encapsulates that the artist will recoup the costs of producing merchandise before the manager gets their commission. Otherwise, the artist will be out of pocket for that expense. Also, there's another section in here that outlines no double commissioning. That's just to capture any events where the artist and manager are in different agreements, whereby the manager gets a double commission because of being in a separate agreement. Now, the next section, power of attorney. This is also a really important section within an artist management contract. This section essentially allows the manager to work on behalf of the artist. And what this means is that the manager has the right to do certain activities. This could be anything from using their name on a legal document, such as a visa application. It could be endless, and it can be limited depending on the power of attorney that is assigned from the artist to the manager. Early termination. So what happens if the artist and management relationship doesn't work out? This is why this clause is within the contract. Essentially, it allows for the parties to get out of the contract in certain events. And in this section within this contract, it defines certain causes which allow the artist to terminate the agreement immediately. And that is defined as things like theft or fraud on the manager's behalf, or if the manager commits an offense and that offense is likely to materially adversely affect the reputation or goodwill of the artist. So essentially that could be a situation where a manager gets caught up in something illegal and there's massive news outlets that are reporting on this artist manager has done this, and they're trying to tie it all together. That is directly affecting the artist's reputation, and then that could potentially be cause for early termination of this contract. Now, the next section is the sunset clause. So, the sunset clause are in artist management contracts to ensure that in the event that the artist decides not to extend or renew the contract, or for whatever reason the contract is terminated, that the manager still does receive their fee for a certain period of time after the end of the contract. Within this contract, the manager is able to receive a 15% rate of gross revenue for the first year, 10% for the second, 7.5% for the third year, and then 0% thereafter. And the point of this clause is to ensure that the manager does get commission for deals that he or she was either negotiating whilst the contract was still in play, or that the manager had already negotiated and the artist was receiving some sort of form of revenue during that term of the contract. If this wasn't in here, as soon as the contract was terminated or ceased to be renewed, the manager would immediately stop receiving any commission or fee from the artist. The next section in the contract is directed towards expenses incurred throughout the contractual period. This section ensures that the artist will reimburse the manager for any expenses that the manager incurs that are directly related to the artist's career in the entertainment industry. Additionally, this section also outlines that the manager is able to expense on the artist's behalf up to $500 at any one time, and also up to $1,000 in a month without getting approval from the artist. The next section in this contract is accounting records. It is quite a large section, but essentially summarized, it is there to protect the manager and to ensure that the artist provides accounting records for all of their revenue received during each calendar month. The whole idea is to ensure that the manager can see exactly what the artist has made so that they can take their fair share and what is owed under the contract, whether that be 15%, 20%, or whatever's negotiated. Next, we have notice. Notice is a standard contractual provision that essentially outlines how the artist and the manager are to talk to each other if there are issues within the contract. So in this section, it outlines that notices can be done in writing, delivered in person, or sent by email to the artist and the manager at their respective addresses. It also outlines when a notice is sent and when it is deemed to be received. This generally isn't important, but it will come in play if the manager or an artist is sending their right to termination or right to not renew the contract just before the option period, and if it's received or not received prior to that date. The next section is representations and warranties. This section is in play to ensure that both parties are legally allowed to enter this agreement. So, like we stated earlier, this agreement is essentially the artist giving the exclusive management rights to the manager. If the artist already has a contract with another manager where they assign some rights or all of the rights, then they don't have the ability to actually enter this agreement. The next section is assignment and endurement. This section outlines that neither party, so the artist and the manager, are not able to assign any of their rights or obligations hereunder within the contract without prior written consent of the other party. So that means that the manager can't assign their right to manage you as an artist to another agency or another management company without your prior written consent. However, it does allow the manager to assign business management rights away, which could be things like accounting or taxation. The next part of the contract is counterparts and digital signature. This is also somewhat a standard term in contracts and essentially outlines that each counterpart of this document will constitute the full document, and that each party agrees that electronically transmitted copies and digital signatures will be treated as originals, which essentially allows parties to sign documents using websites like DocuSign. The next section is independent legal advice. Now, this is super important. Like I suggested at the start of this video, you need to seek independent legal advice if you receive a contract, whether it be an artist management contract, a publishing contract, or even a distribution contract. Please seek independent legal advice. The reason being is that you need to understand every term within your contract, as one word can change the whole meaning of a term or a clause. So this section essentially confirms that both sides have sought independent legal advice, and if they haven't, they're waiving their right to, but we strongly suggest that you do seek independent legal advice. And the last section of the contract is dictating the laws that govern the entire agreement. Another standard term within basically any contract that you'll come across. It's just saying that whatever state or country listed in this section, the legislation created in that state that dictates that state will also dictate this contract. So you also need to be very careful to ensure that you understand the legislation within the jurisdiction of the state or country that is listed in that section, as legislation, copyright laws, song rights, artist rights are very different depending on country or even states within certain countries. The last part of the agreement is, as you'd expect, the date of the agreement and the signature page for the manager and the artist itself. Now that is an artist management contract. For a brief summary, we've gone through a simplified artist management contract that we've found online. It is a draft basic contract. Again, I reiterate, if you are presented with an artist management contract, please seek independent legal advice. It is crucial that you understand every term of that contract, as you will be bound to it as soon as you sign that contract. What we've done today is give you a brief overview of the sections and terms that you may come across within your contract, just so you have a bit more of a broader understanding of those terms. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and if you have any suggestions for future videos or potentially more legal tips or going over different contracts, please also put them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this.
Nice.